The Hubble telescope took these pictures of the Bullseye galaxy.
It is more than twice as big as the Milky Way.
The Hubble telescope has captured one of the most cataclysmic events in the universe. The floating observatory, which has been mankind's eye in deep space for decades.
I want to show you this galactic discovery that's truly out of this world. Bullseye is the fitting name that Yale researchers gave this record-breaking galaxy.
Hubble caught it in silhouette, a faint smear of light rising off the edge of a frozen moon, right as it crossed the glowing face of Jupiter. The scientists who found it were certain about what they were looking at. This was an ocean, buried under miles of ice, venting itself into open space. They put their confidence at 99.9%. NASA built a billion-dollar mission around the idea. And then, in 2026, the very same team went back and re-examined 14 years of data, and quietly began taking all of it back. What Hubble actually captured near Jupiter is something nobody, not even NASA, can now fully explain. And the reason why is stranger than any cover-up. To understand what's at stake, you have to understand the moon it was watching. Europa is one of Jupiter's 4 large moons, a little smaller than our own, wrapped head to toe in a thick shell of ice. But beneath that ice, the evidence is overwhelming. There is a global ocean of liquid salt water down there, holding more water than every ocean on Earth combined, kept warm and liquid by Jupiter's immense gravity, flexing the little moon like a stress ball over and over for billions of years. And that hidden sea may carry complex organic chemicals, some of the raw ingredients life needs to begin. That is why NASA itself has called Europa's ocean one of the most promising places in the entire solar system that could harbor life. There was only ever one problem standing between us and that answer. The ocean is sealed beneath miles of solid ice. You can't see into it, you can't sample it, you can't even prove what's dissolved in it, unless, and this is the heart of everything, the ocean somehow found a way to come up to us. A sealed ocean is a locked room, and for 30 years that's exactly what Europa was. A locked room we were sure held something extraordinary, with no way in. Then, in 2013, a researcher named Lorenz Roth, using Hubble's ultraviolet vision, spotted something hanging near Europa's south pole, faint emissions of hydrogen and oxygen, the broken-apart chemical fingerprint of water itself. The team read that signal as plumes of water vapor erupting from the surface, towering geysers blasting up through cracks in the ice. Roth's conclusion was electric. The discovery, he said, strengthened Europa's position as the top candidate for habitability anywhere off the Earth. Now think about why that mattered so much. If real geysers were firing material into space, you would never need to drill through miles of ice to reach an alien ocean. You could simply fly a spacecraft through the spray and catch the ocean as it rained back down. The locked room had, apparently, sprung a leak. Hold on to that one idea, the leak, because everything that follows depends on whether it was ever truly there. And for years, the case only seemed to get stronger. In 2016, a different Hubble team watched Europa pass directly in front of Jupiter 10 separate times, using the bright planet behind it like a backlight on a screen. On 3 of those 10 passes, they saw what looked like plumes rising more than 100 miles off the surface. Then, in 2018, scientists dug back into decades-old data from the Galileo probe, a spacecraft that had actually flown through the Jupiter system in the 1990s, and a fresh analysis appeared to confirm the plumes, suggesting Galileo had unknowingly punched straight through one. By 2019, yet another team reported they had directly detected water vapor above Europa for the first time. Different instruments, different teams, different years, all landing on the same answer. The leak was real. The ocean was reaching out toward us, and the mission planners were listening. Now here is the turn, and it is the part that flips this entire story on its head. Because the most disturbing thing Hubble found near Jupiter was never a plume at all. It was a warning about how easily even brilliant people can convince themselves they've seen exactly the thing they were hoping to see. In 2026, Roth, the same scientist who first announced those plumes back in 2013, led a team that did something most researchers almost never have the nerve to do. They went back and re-examined the complete 14-year archive of Hubble's observations of Europa, this time deliberately including all the moments when the moon was simply sunlit and not transiting in front of Jupiter. A full, honest accounting of everything Hubble had ever seen, not just the frames that told the story they liked. And what came back was not confirmation. It was the floor giving way beneath them. The original signal, that faint ultraviolet glow they had read as two enormous geysers of water, turned out to depend heavily on exactly where Europa sat in the frame and what happened to be around it. The context of the images themselves may have manufactured the very thing they believed they were measuring. Roth said it about as plainly as a scientist ever will. The reanalysis took that original 99.9% confidence and pulled it down below 90%. And in science, that is the difference between a discovery and a maybe. He admitted the evidence simply wasn't strong enough to support the certainty of the claims they had made at the time. Their own stated fear was that the famous plumes might have been nothing more than noise in the data all along. A flicker, a ghost, a pattern the human mind quietly stitched into a story it badly wanted to be true. The very scientists who first proposed the plumes had become the ones calling their existence into question. The leak we had all hung our hopes on may never have existed at all. So now you can see the real shape of this mystery. This was never NASA hiding an answer from the public. It is something far more unsettling, NASA not having one. The thing Hubble captured near Jupiter sits in a genuine limbo. Sometimes the water vapor seems to be there. On closer inspection, it sometimes vanishes. Other Hubble work found persistent water vapor around Europa, but bizarrely on only one hemisphere, the side facing away from the moon's orbital path, with no clean explanation for why one half of a world should be wet and the other dry. Every single time we believe we have finally pinned this moon down, it slips out of our hands. And remember the leak, the crack in the vault we were all counting on? Right now, science genuinely cannot tell you whether that door to the ocean is open, shut, or was ever there at all. That is the quietly terrifying part, because it isn't a story about a conspiracy. It is a story about the limits of looking. We aimed the most powerful telescope of its generation at a frozen world 500 million miles away, and what came back was not a clean yes or no. It was an ambiguous shimmer that some of the sharpest minds alive have spent more than a decade fighting over, convincing themselves it was real, then unconvincing themselves, then admitting out loud they are no longer sure. The something near Jupiter that nobody can explain isn't being hidden from you. It is being hidden from everyone, by sheer distance, by miles of ice, and by the brutal honesty of scientists willing to stand up and say we might have been wrong. But here is why this is not where the story ends. Beneath all the uncertainty about the plumes, the ocean itself is still almost certainly down there. The magnetic readings, the cracked and shifting surface, the gravity calculations all still point to a vast sea of liquid water under that shell. The plumes were never the real prize. They were just the rumor of a door. And we are no longer willing to argue about a smudge of light from across the solar system. A spacecraft called Europa Clipper is already on its way, built to make dozens of close flybys of this exact moon, to study the ice and the ocean beneath it directly. And if a plume ever does erupt at the right moment, to fly straight through it and finally taste what's hidden down there for itself. So the question Hubble could not answer is about to be handed to something that can get close enough to settle it for good. Either Europa is venting its buried ocean into space, or one of the most thrilling discoveries in modern astronomy was a trick of light and hope, and we believed in it for 13 years. We are, right now, living in the final years of not knowing. And whatever is waiting under that ice has been there, in the dark, for billions of years, patient, sealed, and completely indifferent to whether we ever figure it out. If that pulled you in, stay close to the vault. The next thing we're opening is even further out and even harder to explain. I'll see you there.